Hello, my wonderful viewers, and welcome to another episode of Betty Adams Overanalyzes. Today we are going to be taking a fully spoilery look at Kaiju number 8, chapter 86. This chapter, this is raw, unfiltered shonen manga. What do I mean by that? I mean that there were absolutely none of Matsumoto's signature corkscrew plot twists in this chapter. This is a tourney arc, and we get a classic tourney round with a flashback to training, a mentor, a mid-fight power-up, and everything else you'd expect. Now, you might be asking yourself, if that was all that, completely by the books Shonen, was it still a good chapter? Yes it was. To misquote C.S. Lewis once more, hey, if you're bothered by that, you've been listening to the channel long enough to know what was coming. There's no point in trying to be original. Just tell a good story. Everything from the flashback to the power-up, it was well built up technically, foreshadowed long before even the arc began, let alone this individual chapter began. But to tell you how, I will need to go into spoilers. So now I'm going to give you time to go check out the links below the video if you want to avoid the coming spoilers, and get yourself a copy of my book, Humans Are Weird, Short, Absurd Science Fiction Stories. Now, what do we have in this chapter? But first, I want to go all the way back to chapter 35. I think it was chapter 35. It might be chapter 34. But anyway, Director General Iso Shinomiya has just wrapped up his test of Kafka Haibino, punching the snot out of him in the previous classic shonen chapter, where it was just bang, biff, pow. And then, after Kafka stabbed himself in the chest, we see the Director General sitting on the floor, and into the room waltzes Jin Narumi, doing the face reveal to reveal his very handsome face. And even in that first chapter, where Jin Narumi shows up, you get hints to the unique relationship between Narumi and Director General Shinomiya. Director General Shinomiya, this very hardline officer, is accepting levels of downright sass and what would generally be considered disrespect in any military, let alone a Japanese cultural military. And Director General Maya is just accepting it and ignoring it, basically. You can see that he's letting Captain Narumi get away with, murder, and just accepting it. And all of the officers around Captain Narumi accept this. So from that very first chapter, we get to see that there is a close personal relationship between these two. We get to see that and we very soon get to see that Captain Narumi is all about power. And all of that relationship between them, both the professional and personal, has been building up to the flashback in this chapter. Because we have 86 minus 35 is 51. We have over 50 chapters of relationship buildup. When the flashback comes, when we open up chapter 86, and we see the flashback to itty-bitty, skinny-winny Captain Jin Narumi getting the snot beaten out of him again and again and again by Director Shinomiya, it feels perfectly natural. We expected this. We were going to see it at some point. We've been wanting this and we've been waiting for this. Therefore, when it is revealed in this chapter, it is a reward to our anticipation, not just what it would be otherwise. Had Matsumoto not spent all those chapters building up our anticipation for this moment, increasing our desire to want to see this would have felt like just another mid-tourney flashback. And the reason that those feel so trite and tired in other manga is that they didn't have that build-up. So while we just thought we were seeing the beginnings of the relationship between Captain Narumi and Kafka, we're actually building up to this chapter. And again, that's 50 chapters ahead of hard planning. And given that we're only getting 2 chapters a month, then it means that that's 2 years of planning and preparation. And the cover page that we get comes after the flashback, so the cover page is on page 3, and baby Narumi is so cute. You can kind of see why General Director Aiso Shinomiya bonded with him because Baby Narumi does look a lot like Koru and her mother, both in attitude and physicality. So that's, and oh my goodness, the look on the General Director's face. This was when, probably looking at the time frame, this was when the General Director was just really mastering that hardline officer persona that he would develop over the years, and you can see that he's feeling very awkward in that cover image, and it's just really telling how Matsumoto is able to weave in those relationship details. I do have a question about this flashback scene. There is an image on page 2. It's either the first or second image, depending on how you read the page, and it really looks like, I'm actually not sure what's going on. In the previous image, you have the General Director and Baby Narumi fighting kendo style. And then you have an image where the General Director is obviously not pleased with something. He's either opening or closing a door. There's an arrow pointing at something that appears to be floating in the air, and Narumi is upset about something. I have no idea what is going on in this panel. Could somebody please enlighten me? Anyway, that is a sidetrack. Getting back to the main point. That is just the beginning of the chapter. Then we get into the art chapter, the main chapter, and I just want to talk about the art. The movement in this panel is, in all of these panels, is just glorious. I've mentioned before that when Matsumoto was drawing Vice Captain Hoshina, he hits this level of technical skill and inspiration that makes the movements so fluid, so natural, that I really don't even think an actual animated show could capture the movement better. Because, yeah, you have actual movement in animation, but you're limited by the number of frames per second, by the skill of the animators, and when your brain is just filling in the gaps, and Matsumoto has mastered the use of using the audio reader's brain to fill in the gaps, you get a sensation of movement that is just fantastic. Like on first panel on page 6, a strike. You really, really feel like the picture is moving when you look at it. And on page 9, 10, 11, there are so many pages that Matsumoto just seemed to have poured everything into his one particular skill set. And he took those moments of genius and he made a chapter where it was just concentrated. All of at least half the panels in this chapter appear to be drawn at that sort of peak 95% art style that Matsumoto is using. And again, I genuinely don't know if when this is turned into anime episodes, if they're going to be better than they are. Now, why was Matsumoto pouring so much energy and effort into this chapter, into the art? I think it's because he knew that he had to make up for the fact that this is, after all, a by-the-books, all the tropes shonen chapter. Matsumoto didn't just want to rely on the goodwill that we have for him stored up in our goodwill bank. Rather, Matsumoto wanted to give us something that we could fully 100% enjoy. And this chapter is absolutely necessary. You can't skip it. Given the setup of this battle, we have to see Narumi defeat his foe. And given the setup of the story so far, there would be really no way to work in a plot twist. So what can Matsumoto do to keep us interested? Crank the art up to 11. There are two spreads that I kind of want to bring your attention to. The spread on page 22 and 23, and the spread on page 16 and 17. One is focusing on just this fantastic, I don't know how long it took Matsumoto to draw all these droplets of water, but they are glorious. Matsumoto managed to capture not a natural flow of water, which is hard enough. Matsumoto must have spent hours staring at those videos of okay, on the space station, you have all of these complete nerdy astronauts who are always doing science experiments, and they record some of those for the kids down below to watch. And if you go and look at the water and how the water droplets move on the space station in zero gravity, that's what this looks like. Now, artists don't learn to draw doing that. They learn to draw making water look natural. And so to make water look natural, what you have to do is study water on Earth. But to do this 16, 17 page spread, I don't know how long this took Matsumoto. I think we have the explanation here in this page to why we skipped a month. I think Matsumoto was just pouring so much effort into drawing, into making the art perfect for this chapter, that it literally took Matsumoto a month to do this. But that's enough nerding over the art. This was a class in Shonen Jump chapter. Captain Narumi faces down his foe, gets with all the shonen tropes. He has a flashback to his mentoring scenes with Director General Shinomiya. We get to see both of them developing the personalities that we will come to know them as in the main storyline of Kaiju number 8. It was just a really good chapter, and I really, really enjoyed it. But what do you think, my wonderful viewers? Was the art in this chapter alone worth the month-long wait? Leave a comment below telling me what you think. Hit that like and subscribe button, and peace out, my wonderful viewers.